Yes, people. What is good? It's your boy MK the Don. Welcome back to the channel. Quick reminder, obviously, I am selling these. This is the all red one on the Bayern Munich one. So remember, they're £2 each and plus shipping or postage. I've got ones like the Champions League ones, both of them, Porto and Bayern Munich at home. Got even games like Newcastle, Luton in my hand there, Newcastle. Liverpool, Sheffield, and what's that one? Brentford, and lots more. So if you want any of the programs, then just let me know, and I can do deals on them as well as posted and shipping. We're going to introduce our guest. It's been a long time since I've had him on the channel, and as soon as he messaged me, I can tell you now, I literally put, oh my God, yes. And I sent him the stream link. It is my good friend, Manny. How are you doing, my bro?
All good, son, all good. It has been too long, and we've been too far apart. But, you know, the thing about good friends and good mates is that no matter how far apart we may diverge, we find a way to come back together. And, we found a way, I suppose, and it is good to be back.
Fantastic to have you back as well, mate. We are going to get straight into it, but we're not going to dig into all the games as deep as I would have liked to. But we are going to get into the one that I think is probably the least interesting out of the lot. This is the one that I actually watched quite a bit. It was Dortmund went to Atletico Madrid. It was a 2-1. It looked to me like Dortmund were going to literally be wiped out. Atletico dominated. Diego Simeone set these guys up to perfection in my eyes. And they went to the 2-0. And then all of a sudden, it just looked like they were just holding it, really. Just take what they needed. That's what, in many ways, Arsenal probably should have done, in many ways. Defended and set up the way they did instead of, we'll come to it anyway. But Atletico Madrid, obviously, 2, Dortmund 1. Manny, what are your views on it? Did you watch this game, first of all?
Well, first of all, sadly, we were doing a double bill watch along for the Atletico Dortmund game and also the PSG Barcelona game. Hanno was watching that. I was focusing more on the PSG Barca game. I was trying to switch back and forth to see if I was missing anything, and also trying to follow the BBC Sport online text coverage. And from what I was able to gather, Dortmund actually showed that if you are defensively weak and switch off at any inopportune time, you can concede a goal, and that's exactly what happened. A ridiculous pass from Kobel to Maatsen, which ended up being intercepted, and it was just an easy tap-in for Rodrigo de Paul. And then, more chaos in the Dortmund defense. A wonderful pass by Griezmann, and then Sam Lino just poked it past Kobel, and 2-0. But one thing which I will say right now is that Atletico, when it comes to Atletico, they know how lucky they were to have avoided exiting the competition in the previous stage, because Inter Milan, at many points in that tie, were looking more and more the likely winners. And had it not been for Jan Oblak coming up trumps in the penalty shootout, they could very well have been out. And Inter were, in fact, favourites to actually go quite far in the competition, mind you. So Dortmund deserve a lot of credit for the way they got their act together and, kept themselves a lot more defensively solid. Kobel made up for that ridiculous pass by saving brilliantly later on. And then, of course, Dortmund scored in reply. And I did actually see the stoppage time, and I also saw when Julian Brandt had the chance to actually equalize with the very last effort of the game, only for his header to hit the bar and move away. I mean, Oblak was beaten hook, line, and sinker, but the bar saved him. And it just goes to show that, Dortmund paid the price for being, slack defensively earlier on. But Atletico very nearly paid a similar price, if not exactly identical, by not being able to really put their foot down. And so when they go back to Dortmund Stadium, which I think used to be called the Signal Iduna Park at one time, I think it's been renamed ever since. It's not going to be an easy game for the Spaniards because, Dortmund are going to have their famous yellow wall. And
yellow wall,
and they're going to be determined to do that. And in fact, I believe it's officially called the Westfalen Stadium, but Signal Iduna Park is, of course, another name for that. And when these two teams play next week, it will certainly be a game, a really mouth-watering game. Dortmund are going to be fighting really hard to ensure that they become one German team that makes the semi-finals. And we all know who the other German team in actually the quarterfinals are.
Yeah.
And I still think Atletico. I don't think Atletico ever won the European Cup or the Champions League. I think they've been finalists a few times, and Dortmund have actually won it before. But recent CL history suggests that Atletico might be the favourites. But it just goes to show that at any given time, the form book can be thrown out of the window. And we've seen that in quite a few of the other games this week.
We did indeed. Yeah, I've not too much to say on the Atletico Madrid, Dortmund. That was well covered by Manny, actually. Manny, this is one game that you did watch. I can't actually say that I watched too much of this. I caught the highlights. Dembele's goal was actually fantastic against his former side. I like that one. But what can you tell me more? Was it deserved by Barcelona? Because what I could see was obviously Paris went 1-0 down and then got level, and then Barcelona went 2-1 up. Am I correct? And then it was 2-2.
No, PSG went 2-1 up.
Oh yeah,
and then
PSG
Barca
went 2-1 up.
And they ended up scoring the go-ahead goal with a few minutes left and held on for a magnificent win at the Parc des Princes. And just think that this could potentially be Kylian Mbappe's final Champions League game for Paris Saint-Germain before he completes his move to Real Madrid. And how PSG will move on without him, I don't know. But to answer your question briefly, yes, Barcelona absolutely deserved it because when PSG played in the group stages earlier on against Newcastle, we all saw at St. James's Park how the Geordies ripped them a new one, literally. They were in so much disarray, and Newcastle were this brash, exciting team that had come into the Champions League. And, they were there. I would say that in the early stages, they were far more impressive than we were. And I would certainly have not begrudged them going through to the next stage, especially if they could qualify from that group of death, which also included Dortmund and AC Milan. Milan, of course, speaking of them, they lost the first leg of their quarterfinal against Roma, and will have it all to do when they when they go to the Olympic Stadium in Rome, I think. And Barca fielded quite a few teenagers, including Pau Kubasi in the heart of the defense, who did a really, really good job keeping the likes of Mbappe and Dembele and company quiet. Marco Asensio didn't have the best of games. He was yanked off at halftime and replaced by Bradley Barcola, who really instantly made a difference on the right flank. And he was trying his best to get past Cancelo. And that battle between him and Cancelo was absolutely amazing in many ways. And it was, I wouldn't say a cagey affair, but it was definitely, back and forth. And you couldn't really fault the midfield. It was just that the attack at times was just far too good from both sides, really. And to think that Rafinha was slumming it with Leeds in the Premiership, now he's at Barcelona having the time of his life. He scored 2 of Barcelona's goals, the goal which put Barcelona ahead, and also... he got the equalizer, and then late on, Barcelona kept relentlessly attacking. They brought more teenagers on, the likes of Ferran Torres and Pedri, and also another guy whose name I don't quite recall. But they literally added a lot of freshness, and they got the go-ahead goal through Andreas Christensen and held on. And Gianluigi Donnarumma pretty much proved why, in my opinion, he's an absolutely overrated goalkeeper. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
And it was karma in many ways for Luis Enrique, who had the nerve to say that he represented the values of Barcelona more than Xavi did. Sacrilege, really. As a player, Xavi won all those titles. Some of them, of course, I will accept, were under Enrique as coach, and it was Enrique who coached them to the treble that particular season. But for him to say that was absolutely stupid, and Enrique in many ways got what he deserved.
Money, I reckon he's eyeing up that Barcelona job at the end of the season,
Mate, he was Barcelona boss not too long ago. I really don't think Barcelona would be tempted to have him back, and I think by making those comments, he's pretty much, done.
Yeah, that must be it now. Yeah.
He's burnt some bridges, I think. In as much as Hernandez may be leaving, you do not insult a club legend that way. I'm sorry.
Do you think, speaking of Barcelona, do you think if Xavi wins the Champions League with them, obviously, as their coach, do you reckon they'll go on and stay on next season? Or do you think it's sealed, done, that's the end of it, you're leaving no matter what?
Here's the thing, though. I mean, we have a similar situation with Bayern Munich, and we will come to that, obviously. But with Barcelona, they were struggling in La Liga, and obviously Xavi was talking about how it's been quite difficult for the club to operate because let's not forget they've had huge financial troubles. The fact that they did win the league last season was nothing short of miraculous, really. And I think in some ways Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has to be credited for injecting a little bit of spark into them the season before. Thrashing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu really gave them some confidence back, and they carried into next season. It was just unfortunate that because they got Robert Lewandowski, Aubameyang had to leave. But since then, Barcelona have been doing really well, and I think Barcelona have pretty much proved that there will always be a place for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in their hearts, and the feeling is mutual. But Xavi also deserves credit for the job he did immediately on, but he also deserves a lot more credit for recognizing that maybe the job is a little bit too big for him. He may not be fully equipped to handle that, and he might end up leaving. So if he does go on to win the Champions League, which is definitely not unlikely, I think he will stay true to his word and end up leaving anyway, because you don't come to this decision after a great deal of thought and just because things suddenly take a turn for the better, turn for the magnificent, suddenly, do a U-turn and say, actually, I would like to stay. Because, you can't just flip like that. And sudden success at the end of the season shouldn't be something that immediately changes your mind. I would have liked to think that if we had won the I think Arsene Wenger, credit to him, probably wanted to win the Europa League, get us back into the Champions League, and then possibly leave. At least he had the sense to understand that he was getting a bit stale. The club wasn't quite progressing, and he ended up, having to leave, because you could only stay on for so long without much in terms of sustainable success, and then people are going to start saying, you stayed too long, you overstayed your welcome. Nobody says that about Alex Ferguson. But with Xavi, I mean, obviously it's only 2 or 3 seasons he's had in the job. But he's being honest with himself. He's being fair to the club. And in return, the club are always going to consider him one of their greatest ever legends, having won La Liga as a player and a manager, something which Mikel Arteta didn't do for us, although an FA Cup as player and manager isn't small potatoes. But, he's being honest with himself and the club, and who's to say he may not come back to Barcelona in the future? Maybe not as head coach, but in some other bigger capacity. But as far as Enrique is concerned, he's going to have to do a lot of, explaining at the very least.
Because the new camp's under reconstruction, isn't it? Am I correct on that?
I couldn't tell you right now. I will look that up and confirm it for you.
I do think it is being reconstructed, but to be honest, I would love Barcelona. Obviously, I want Arsenal to win it, but that I'm not too confident. We'll get into that one, but if anyone can win it, I know 2006 was a horror for us Gooners, but I would prefer Barcelona to win it than, let's say, Manchester City again. But big up Barcelona. I hope you guys do get through. I can't lie, semi-finals would be good. Let's get on to this one. See, this was, I don't know about you, but on BT Sports, it was actually popping up every single minute with one of their goals. So it was popping up with Phil Foden's goal. And then from there, it was just goals galore, but pretty much. And to be honest, Real Madrid got back into it. And then, of course, it ended up 3-3. What is your initial thoughts on this game, Manny?
Well, I'll tell you what, Real Madrid actually proved why they've got the Champions League heritage. They were able to do what PSG couldn't do, and that was equalise from 3-2 down. And it was a game which really where the pendulum also swung one way or another. 2 teams with fine attacks, and they were literally pounding each other. It was a wonderful boxing fight. You think of some of the close matches over the years, I suppose in film terms. You talk about the rocky fights between himself and Apollo Creed, or his final one between himself and Mason Dixon, or what have you. Neither fighter used to be unbowed. The only difference is, of course, that while boxing fights were decided, this one still is 3-3, and because there are no away goals anymore, Madrid still feel as though they have an advantage. I mean, at least they're on a more equal footing now when they go to the empty had in the coming days. And Luka Modric, once again, highlighting how important he still is to Real Madrid, despite the fact that he's now an impact sub. He should probably leave Madrid at the end of the season anyway, and I think he will leave on much happier terms than several of Real Madrid's legends over the years. The likes of Iker Casillas and Sergio Ramos never got the farewells they wanted or felt they deserved, but Modric should still get a farewell at the end of the season if he were to decide to leave. And his enterprise ended up influencing the game, and eventually Federico Valverde got the equalizing goal, and we're now all square. So neither team can be very happy, but neither team has reason to be sad. I couldn't watch this game, obviously, because Arsenal and Bayern were taking center stage. But defensively, I think it's going to come down to, at the Etihad, which team can defend a little bit better. And Rudiger and company are going to have their problems. And Tchouaméni, actually, who's a midfielder, and we all have reason to remember him because it was his goal that knocked us out of the World Cup in Qatar. He was playing as a centre-back for this particular game, and I don't know why that was the case. I can only hope that Ancelotti will have some of his other defenders fit and available, because playing Tchouaméni in the back four, I get that he may be a defensive midfielder, but you don't bring him back there. In fact, the more I see of him, the more he's really more of an attacking one. And I don't know if that necessarily affected the shape as such. But, this is a game, obviously, where the attacking prowess was shown. It's who defends better that will end up coming out on top. And heaven forbid it should go to penalties,
Oof, I'm just gutted that it's on the same time as the Arsenal game. I can't lie, like it's absolutely gutted. When I saw the fixtures on TV, obviously, like first thing I looked at was Arsenal Bayern, and then I saw underneath Real Madrid versus Man City, and I was like, oh, what? 8 o'clock? Oh, no, Tuesday, really? But yeah, we're gonna have to talk about it. I've said a few things about certain decisions that weren't given, was given, not given, and all that. First things first, 2-2. It was a missed opportunity to really go for this. I kept saying it way before when we first got the draw. I kept saying there's no away fans. As soon as we found out no away fans, fantastic. The whole stadium's going to be Arsenal. Brilliant. The fans lived up to that, don't get me wrong. But it felt like that was our opportunity to punish Bayern. And the 5-1s, slappings over the years and that comes to mind. And as soon as they pulled out, I don't know about you, Manny, but as soon as they pulled out Arsenal first, I was thinking anyone but Munich. And then all of a sudden, Bayern Munich. You just couldn't write it. And quite honestly, we didn't get battered, obviously. It was a good thing. A 2-2 is probably a fair result considering there's been a lot of I'm going to say United fans. Most of them are United fans. United and Spurs fans popping up to me saying Harry Kane meant to elbow Gabriel. We're going to go to that before I get your views on the rest of the game. But do you think it's a red card, first of all? Because that's all what people have been asking me. Do I think that was a red card?
Well, there have been some people, of course, MK, who have said that shouldn't really be given a red card, and it's another example of football's dark arts at work. I'm not too sure necessarily that Kane would have thought of doing something like that, because I don't know if you know this, there was actually a news article where back in Germany, 3 of his kids were actually injured in a road accident that was on the Monday before the game. So that can't not have been playing on his mind, and I really don't know that he would have wanted to do something like that. He now, I think maybe there's a school of thought to this. some people will say, well, Kane's played in the Premiership long enough to know that he is going to have a defender marking him. So if you end up trying to, put an elbow out, you can't just do that and then feign ignorance by saying, I didn't see him there, ref.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes as a striker, you end up invariably having eyes on your back. I think because he wasn't booked, you can't necessarily give that a red card, though. That sort of conduct would really only be punished with a yellow card, given that it was so early in the game. And there would have had to have been a real element of liberation. Like, he literally would have had to, gain that tension in his arm and really swing it right back for that to be a red card, because that would be deliberate foul play. I mean, it would almost have to be like the Roy Keane Alfie Haaland tackle, where that Irish guy, that absolute moron, bashed the Norwegian's leg. And a lot of people will say that, Haaland retired because of an injury to his left knee, so Keane should be in the clear. They conveniently forget that had Haaland's foot been on the ground when Keane bashed into it, the damage would have been so much worse. Haaland would have had to retire almost immediately, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
And as far as Kane's is concerned, I think it was just it was stupid and ill-advised, but it probably was no more than a yellow card. And I think the right decision was made. And Keane, we have to accept that Keane played it well. If any of our players were to have done the same, I'm not too sure that we would necessarily be calling for them to be red carded. And let's not forget, there were some people. There's still a friend of mine who was also a YouTuber, who made it crystal clear that Havertz dived against Brentford, against Brentford rather, in our favour, and should have been sent off, punished by the ref for simulation. He had already been booked, mind you, so had he received a second booking, he would have been off and wouldn't have gone on to score the winner. So, we can't really complain too much, and we have to trust that the referee made the right decision with that incident, as he did for some of the other incidents. I can't
lie, I thought the referee was decent. I can't lie, I thought the referee was decent. We're going to go on to another decision, and this one has got a lot of people rattled, but not really gooners. And I think this is where a lot of us are actually clued on with this decision, to be honest. But the one where Gabriel handballs it, listen, the atmosphere was crazy at the Emirates. I got sent a lot of videos from that night, and it was crazy. The atmosphere was nuts. I know we were 2-1 down at the time, but we were going for it. And the goal kick, obviously, the referee blows his whistle. I didn't hear it at the time. I didn't know what was going on. All I saw was Harry Kane literally put his arms out to the referee and start whinging. But Gabriel obviously, Raya sort of kicks it to Gabriel, and Gabriel sort of picks it up with his hand. And just to place the ball still to take the goal kick, in my opinion. See, I still don't think that should have been a penalty. In the law of the game, maybe it should have been. But then referees are told to sort of referee with a bit of common sense as well, And I think that referee, it was young, not very experienced. But I think even an experienced referee would have not gave that, to be honest with you. But what's your view on the penalty?
I'll be honest with you. I was actually doing a watch along with, a friend of mine, Danny AFC TV, for his channel. We always do watch alongs for the European games. Hopefully, this coming week's rematch at the Allianz will not be the last time we're together on a stream. Although maybe I could catch up with him for an end of season review. I don't know, but we'll have to see. But look, because I wasn't able to see it because I was busy talking to him as well. I couldn't really do that. And I'll be honest with you, Mason. I have seen on some occasions like if, for example, you've got a defender with the goalkeeper and they're also trying to adjust the ball. It hasn't been too uncommon that the goalkeeper would adjust it with his hands. But again, there's always the complexity of whether or not the referee had blown his whistle, and once he blows his whistle, the ball is officially in play, and you cannot use your hands by hook or by crook. So it's not for nothing that they could say that Gabriel has a bit of a bozo gene. That was a bit of a bozo moment. It was a dozy piece of football. And if you're a cricket fan, it's also a little bit like if you're the if you're the batsman at the non-strikers, they're not facing the bowler, and you have the stupidity to wander out of your crease, and the bowler sees that you're out of your crease, he can just stop his run up, hit break the wicket with the ball in his hand, and you could be run out. That's doziness, and you cannot allow yourself to lose that concentration. And that wasn't the first time he had lost his concentration in that game, as we will talk about later. But for Gabriel, I mean, he's a Brazilian international. He shouldn't have done that. And I'm pretty certain that Arteta would have read him and Raya the riot act. And both of them, believe me, that game deserved it. If not a penalty, then definitely an indirect free kick, because it might be a similar infringement to a goalkeeper receiving a back pass with his hand. That is punished with an indirect free kick, if not a penalty. But it was a dozy piece, and it was interesting to hear how you said you liked the referee's performance. One thing which he did was give Bukayo Saka a bit of protection, because
they were out for him again, and this is what you don't get. And the reason why I say, some people were saying the referee was absolutely terrible. I can sort of see where they're coming from, but the way I saw it was he was doing things as the game felt. The situation was with Saka. Saka was getting outright took out at times, absolutely bashed. Bayern were out to, at some stage, get him in a way. And Davis was a part of that. And Davis was booked very, very quick in my eyes. And he's not playing next game, but they've still got other options. And I guarantee at their place as well, Saka's going to get kicked. And he will get fouls. And the thing is with Saka, a lot of people saying, oh, he dived against Manuel Neuer, etc., etc. But in my opinion, you're going at that fast pace. Yeah, he leaves at his leg, but in my opinion, you're going that far pace, like you're going so fast at that speed. I don't think you have any time to even think about a dive. To be honest with you, I don't think he would do that in many ways. Yeah, I do see other people saying, yeah, it wasn't a penalty, and I understand why it wasn't given, etc. But in other ways, I do not like this, that people are now putting him down as a diver. What's your opinion on the Saka penalty incident?
Well, here's the thing. Ben Foster, the former Manchester United, Watford and England goalkeeper, released a video where he said that because the position of Saka's right leg was a bit unnatural, there was no way a penalty could be given. And Neuer, of course, one of the best goalkeepers in the world, did what he felt he had to do, and that was come out and put pressure on Saka and make himself exceptionally big. And as a goalkeeper yourself, you will know that if you've got a striker coming at you, and if you stay rooted to your spot or rooted to the line, you are asking for trouble. So as soon as you see him make that run, you've got to come out and try and make yourself big. Emi Martinez does the same thing. And Saka also has been playing long enough to know that goalkeepers are going to rush at him. So he has to try to, move around a little bit. Now, I get that he may have been running with a little bit of pace, but if he had that knowledge at that particular time, what he cocould have perhaps done was use the outside of his left foot to move the ball away from Neuer and then maybe pass it to someone else in that best position. The thing which gets, a lot of people's goats about Saka is, in their opinion, Saka had the chance to, be a hero in some ways by either trying his best to go around the goalkeeper or pass it to a teammate who was free and available.
I can't lie. I don't think he was going around the keeper. I can't lie. I think Manuel Neuer is way too big for him. Honestly, I think his only way was either pull it back or get a penalty.
Or could he have tried to look for a spot between his legs where he could poke it through? I'm not too sure. But if there were some teammates on Saka's left, he could have passed it to one of them. Empty net, ball gets rolled in. Yes, Saka doesn't get the goal, but he gets the credit for that. And Thomas Partey also gets credit for his role in that with that fine pass to him, which Declan Rice wasn't able to do throughout the whole game. Now, this is also going to be a part of Saka's learning curve because, again, we all love watching him, and obviously that ridiculous chant to the tune of Voulez-Vous by ABBA has been sung by more than a few people. And I remember on the OTF group chat alluding to that for another chance he had earlier on in the game. And, I wouldn't go so far to say that Saka is a cheat by any means. Far from it. It was a mistake. It was a mistake that he made, and obviously, it was unfortunate the penalty wasn't given, but the right decision in the end. It was absolutely horrible to see him do with Thierry Henry and try and go and confront the referee, and having AirPod Albert, the poor bloke, try and control him. Reminded me, of course, of when Thierry Henry made a beeline for Graham Poll when we lost to Newcastle 3-1 in the 2001-2002 season. And, Thierry Henry was apoplectic that time, and several of our teammates had to hold him back. And even the Newcastle and ex-England centre-forward and captain Alan Shearer had to hold him back. And I believe he did get a suspension for that. But we recovered from that magnificently. We beat them 2-0 at their place with that wonderful goal from Dennis Bergkamp. And we went on to win the double. Flopped in the Champions League, of course. But, you can't win them all, I suppose, unless you are a certain team. So instead of getting bitter about that, it's up to us to try and get better. And this is going to be an important a part of Saka's learning curve, where he now has to realize that he has to work on some basic skills about trying to be a more intelligent sort of player, figure out what a goalkeeper is going to try and do, especially someone like Neuer, who knows how to make himself big and who has been, the best in his business for quite some time. Now, of course, you've got to say that his best days are behind him, but he is still more than competent. But it's going to be a learning curve for him. And, of course, a very similar goalkeeper who used to be with us is going to come back to the Emirates to play on Sunday. How Saka deals with him, that will be very interesting to see.
Indeed. I have to say that I think, man, I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed about how the defence played. I think they've been so good this season, the defence. They've been so good this year as well, and Raya this year. And it just felt that we just fell apart. A big occasion got to our boys, to be honest, got to them boys at least. What on earth was Raya doing? I've got to say this. I'd seen people try and blame Gabriel, but no, Raya, I'm going to not swear. I'm trying to be sensible here. But what on earth was he doing? Like, on a real, why come out that far? Like, what's the point, man? Like, honestly, just what's the point in coming out that far to begin with, trying to get the ball? And Gabriel has no choice. I really wish that Gabriel just literally booted the Rose head. Honestly, that's what he should have done. But is there that moment where there is balls around the side of the pitch, so Bayern literally would have just gone straight away, But first of all, do you think it was Raya's or Gabriel's fault, or a bit of both? I'm more 90% Raya's fault.
I'm 100% Raya's fault, mate. Because I'll tell you one thing. When Raya had made his run and had come up to Gabriel had the ball and had it comfortably. Now, granted, Saliba was a little bit further front than Gabriel, but Gabriel had the ball, would have dealt with it comfortably. And sometimes as a goalkeeper, you've got to know when to rush out of your area and when not to rush out of your area. You've also got to know how to have some faith in your defenders. Now, that is a skill that Emi Martinez has. He doesn't rush out unless it's very necessary. He has faith in his defenders, ill-equipped as they are to be able to deal with everything. But if he doesn't, old reliable, the Argentinian wall, he's there. He played last night, of course, against Lille and made some magnificent one-on-one saves. Had it not been for his saves, Villa would have been on the receiving end of a big defeat. But as it is, they won 2-1. He deserved his clean sheet. Sadly, he didn't get it. But, Gabriel had the ball. Raya didn't need to come out. As a goalkeeper, if you see a situation where there is some distance between the ball and the defender isn't quite likely to get it, and you do have an attacker rushing, then you sort of try and, assuage the situation. But Gabriel had control of the ball. And my theory is that he was so shaken by the sight of Raya having run up there. It's as if he ran up and said, peekaboo, or whatever he said in Spanish. Yeah. And bear in mind, since Magalhães is Brazilian, he speaks some Portuguese and maybe a bit of Spanish, but still he would have been rattled. And that was, sensing that rattling, the Bayern attacker I don't quite recollect who it was. I don't think it was Leroy Sané. It could have been someone else. Maybe it was Harry Kane. But, Gabriel felt completely shaken, and that Bayern attacker saw it fit to try to pressurize him. So, in as much as we would like to say that Gabriel should have booted it out to Rose Z, I think Gabriel was shaken by the whole thing. He just didn't know what to do.
Definitely.
And then, unfortunately, that pass was made. Kiwior couldn't get it. And then, it was intercepted. And then Gnabry did the rest. Another ex-gunner who comes back to haunt us. Last season, it was Danny Welbeck and Theo Walcott. This season, it's been Bernd Leno, William Borges, Alex Iwobi, Konstantinos Mavropanos. Now add Serge Gnabry to the list. I give Joe Willock a pass because when he scored that goal, we had already thrashed his team hook, line, and all the way to Sunday. But then Willock actually did, play a part in our downfall at St. James's Park. So he is on the list. And, that was completely Raya's fault. And then that'll segue into the penalty. What are you doing as a goalkeeper trying to move before Kane took his penalty? You continue with this one.
Horrible, man. Awful bit of goalkeeping. I knew as soon as Kane stepped up and done that little stand, and then I saw him go, and I was just like, oh, my head in my hands. I was furious, man. Honestly, the stuff I really want to say, I can't. I really want to say bring Ramsdale in. I know it won't happen, but honestly, to God, what? I know he's done some bits for us. I know he's done some bits in the Champions League, like with the Porto game, etc., etc. But what has he really improved in our team from last season, which Ramsdale didn't have? I know the passing from the back and all that is key, but realistically, when it comes to making saves, etc., and that, there is no difference between them two. That's my only thinking. But I know he's going to be number one. I know that already. I'm really sad for Ramsdale, but it is what it is. But I'm just gutted for this. Like, Raya really did not do well, man. Like, it was the biggest night of his career, Arsenal career, probably footballing career. And he did not take it in his stride. Harry Kane absolutely mugged him off. And Harry Kane even said after the game, and it was horrible to see, that he obviously knew what Raya was like on penalties, and he knew what to do. And he had that opportunity. Let's hope that next week Raya's learnt from that mistake and make sure he saves, at least if it goes, you know what I mean? I'm guaranteed for Bayern to get a penalty next week, mate. Honest to God. Now, Harry Kane, honestly.
Hero against Porto, villain against Bayern. That is how fortunes swing. And I'll tell you what, though, we can't talk about the penalty without also talking about another calamitous piece of defending. Saliba this time showing that he's still fairly inconsistent. I do still believe, as do many people, that he does not deserve to be holding bench for France while someone like Dayot Upamecano plays ahead of him. But, Saliba, we've also seen as capable of some moments of inconsistency. And this one, of course, was no different. And even Ben White looked good for the most part, but he also was making a few mistakes. And Saliba bringing down, I believe it was Sané in the box. And it just had to be a penalty. And Bayern were always going to be stronger on the counter-attack after soaking up all our early pressure. There was no way that they were going to go all gung-ho and leave their defense with Matthias de Ligt and Eric Dyer exposed. And now, of course, they've got Kimmich at right back and Davies at left back. Davies won't be there in the return leg. But I would be surprised if Eric Dyer ends up playing in the second leg. I think if Tuchel has any sense, he'll bring on Min Jae Kim or someone else. But that was another poor piece of defending. But Raya proved that there are levels. When you played for most of your career at clubs like Blackburn and Brentford, and then make the step up to playing for Arsenal in the Champions League, you can experience what happened against Porto was a high, but this was an absolute low. And that's not even the first time, because if you remember correctly, he did concede that last-minute winner at the Estadio do Dragão. A taller goalkeeper makes that save. A different goalkeeper improves his positioning. It just goes to show that he's not really too much of an upgrade on Ramsdale. He may only be marginally better enough to start ahead of the guy. But I'll tell you what, last season, Ramsdale was making just as bad errors. I can never forgive the boy for our Europa League exit, and of course our dropping 2 points to Southampton in a few games on either side of that. And Ray is also proving that he's really no better. It just goes to prove that Arteta is absolutely clueless when it comes to signing goalkeepers.
I know he needs to start getting someone in maybe and putting someone behind the scenes to actually get a goalkeeper, because I can't lie, it's not looking good. And if we do end up buying Ray, I think 27 million's been on the cards. I think that's the price that we're going to give them. That's the money that we're going to give them. I don't see us getting much for Ramsdale now either, to be fair with you. I really don't. The games that he's played haven't been too good. The Brentford one recently, not great, and that's got in for me. I can't believe it. I really thought he was going to have a good time, especially this season.
I'm going to give Ramsdale some credit though. Yes, it was a poor error to concede.
But he did make up for it.
Two brilliant saves from Tony and Collins, although skeptics will say that he shouldn't have got himself out of position for the Tony one. Yes, he shouldn't. But had that been David Raya, that would have been a goal. Let's get that straight.
100%. This is what I mean. I know it should be just what everyone really sees, but what does Mikel different? Is it because he's Spanish? I'm not trying to get this into now, but is it because Raya's Spanish and maybe the coaching staff and the goalkeeping department are Spanish?
Maybe that's a part of it, because it was a bit like when Pepe Reina came into Liverpool under Rafa Benitez and immediately became number one, ahead of the Champions League hero Jerzy Dudek. Reina was the type of person who was a good shot stopper, but he also knew how to start attacks quickly with quick throws from the penalty area, and also make sure that the transition was very quick indeed. And Benitez lapped it up, treated him like the son he never had, and literally lavished him and allowed the pole to fall through the cracks. But, Reina's handling was poor at times. He was pathetic on crosses and high balls. And he never really won any big silverware with Liverpool, unlike Dudek and Sander Westerveld and a few others. And I think, I don't. If you take a look at Liverpool fans, none of them will really remember Reina with much affection these particular days, because as a goalkeeper, he just wasn't quite successful enough. He's certainly nowhere near as successful as Alisson Becker. And so without digressing, that particular issue with goalkeepers being quick on transition is something that Spanish managers do tend to prefer. But, most of these Spanish goalkeepers, in my observation over the years, and high balls. Ray is an exception despite being noticeably short. He has great powers of anticipation, but if you attack him aerially consistently enough, he can be beaten. And we saw that as well with the Mudrak goal at Stamford Bridge. So there's no way that Ray is the finished article either. And the worst part is, ever since selling Martinez, we had Leno for a season. He kept making dreadful errors. Ramsdale replaced him. Ramsdale made some errors, and Raya replaced him. And if Raya makes more errors next season as part of the second season Blues thing, we'll bring another goalkeeper in, and the whole cycle will continue and continue while the Argentinian goes on. And while the Argentinian goes on to, win more silverware with Argentina, take Aston Villa to really great heights. And, we're going to look at that and think, I don't care if we were able to make a very hefty profit for him. The fact that we spent 30 million quid on Aaron Ramsdale and are spending another 25 or 27 million on Raya, never mind the copious amounts we wasted on other players, you've got to think to yourself, penny wisdom, pound foolishness.
It is foolishness.
And of course, as a segue into what you're going to say, thank the Lord for Leandro Trossard.
Of course. I want to just dig into Trossard's goal, but Jesus, man, his footwork was unbelievable. His footwork that he showed was just flipping amazing. And then the finish from Trossard, man, how on earth? He saved us a couple of times now. Porto, Bayern. Mate, it could have been a nervy time, but well done to Trossard, man. What a player. I'm so happy that we got him, other than the Ukrainian £100, 100 million or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, but it was a fantastic bit of trickery from Jesus. I loved it. Jesus, come on, change the game. Trossard, come on, changed it. But saying that, Trossard, apart from the goal, I don't know whether you agree with me, on this, or was it just my view on it? But I see that Trossard didn't really do too much in the game apart from the goal. I think I wanted him to probably do a lot more, but maybe that's just me being harsh because I wanted to win the game. And the reason why I wanted to win the game, and we are going to come on to this, but I'm going to get your opinion on the Trossard goal first, is because it's going to be tough going out there, mate. It's going to be very, very tough, and the nerves are starting. I know we got the Premier League game against Villa, and I always say go for that first. Let's get this, go for it, and I mean go for it. No changes, no half and heart changes. Go for it. Play the team you're going to play in Germany, and worry about injuries if there is any after the game. Because let's be real, we want to go for both. If we're not going to go for both, then what's the point in even doing this? You know what I mean? We need to go for both. We want to compete, and we want to stay in the Champions League as long as we can, and be in the title race as long as we can, and go on to win the title race. But first of all, Trossard's goal. What was your point of view on that?
Look, Trossard came on as a substitute, okay? So you've got to accept that if your game time is going to be limited, you won't necessarily have too much scope to do anything. But you always see the difference whenever he comes on as a substitute. He lends so much to our attack that the other players just don't, really. And what angered me a great deal was with Kai Havertz once again having a really nothing game against his compatriots. Yeah. He should have been yanked off a lot earlier, but Arteta saw it fit to take off. I think it was Jorginho and Martinelli, I think, and brought on Jesus and Trossard. So I don't know which position Trossard was in. Was Havertz still playing as a striker with Trossard as a left winger, or was Trossard going up front? But this is another game where, Havertz really proved that he's just, dead weight. And if we want to be a force in Europe, we can't. I don't care if he has a Champions League winning goal to his credit.
It's not for the Arsenal, mate. It's not for the Arsenal.
He can't cut the mustard on at a continental level.
No,
but Trossard coming on really lends that level of quality. He makes the runs, he controls the ball beautifully, he puts pressure on the defenders, and you've also got to give credit to Jesus as well. I know that a lot of people are going to criticize him for his finishing, but I think he definitely does work a little bit hard. Yes, we do have a right to criticize him for his finishing because he's in the team as a striker, but it also doesn't help when he's being pushed out onto the wing with Havertz as the false nine, and you're expecting Jesus. What is Jesus's role? When we were playing the 4-2-3-1 and Jesus was the lone striker, he was scoring a few goals. And had he not been injured, it wouldn't have been unreasonable to suggest that he would have kicked on from there and maybe gotten something close to 20 a season. And we would have been saying to ourselves, we don't miss Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang anymore. And I'll tell you what, in the Europa League, that bloke literally is being Marseille's savior, spearhead, really. But we need that 20-goal-a-season goal scorer, and neither Jesus nor Havertz are going to be it. But with Trossard, you're going to get some absolute quality from him. He's exceptionally versatile. It may be easy to dismiss him as more of a utility player or a jack of all trades, but he comes up with absolute moments of quality. Maybe he doesn't quite do it as a starter, but when you have so many players who have have such versatility, as a coach, you've got to be smart enough to underline a specific role for players based on their talents and abilities. He's pushing Martinelli as well so far out onto the left wing.
Yeah, he is.
But he's so far drawn away from the action. And yet when he plays for Brazil when he played under the former coach Diniz, and now it's Dorival Jr., I don't know if Martinelli is going to have a big role in the team, but I do expect that Martinelli could play as a centre forward. And he has scored goals as a centre forward. I mean, if you could just, encourage him to beef up a little bit, have some more Brazilian churrasco, there's no reason why he can't be exceptionally strong, a much stronger person who can maneuver his way past defenses the way a certain Monsieur Henry did. He was a winger, but Wenger converted him into an out-and-out striker, and the rest is history. But Arteta just doesn't seem to know what to do with all the talent. I feel like, MK, that it's a case of water everywhere and not a freaking drop to drink. It's stupid. And until unless we have a manager who is a lot more tactically decisive with regard to his players and is not willing to completely muck up formations and muck up tactics just to shoehorn a few of his favorites in, we're going to continue to have all these frustrating results. We're always going to be bridesmaids. We'll never be the bride. And that is really what angers me about it in many ways. And that really, I don't even know if I can just tolerate too much more of that. It's stupid.
No, I agree, definitely. Before we end, we're just going to get a quick scoreline for when we go out in Germany from you, Manny. So what do you think the scoreline will be? We'll do two, one with your head and one with your heart, if that makes sense.
Oh my goodness, with my heart, where do I even start? I'll tell you what, my heart would love to see us go through, but I fear that it will be another draw and we end up going through on penalties. But you have to understand that this Bayern Munich team are very ruthlessly efficient when it comes to penalties. Most German teams are, it has to be said. And, if they muck up their lines and Raya overcomes his nerves and ends up being the savior again, then it could be really good. But in as much as Raya was excellent against Porto, it has to be said that the Portuguese guys really mucked up. I don't see that happening with the German team. But with my heart, I hope we get through on penalties. With my head, I predict that Bayern will beat us 3-1. And the reason why I say this is because in the previous round, they lost to a Lazio team that had Matteo Guendouzi, among others, 1-0, and they had Dayot Upamecano sent off. But in the second leg at the Allianz, they turned on the style. Their midfield was cooking. They swamped Lazio 3-0, and that defeat in Rome was all but forgotten. And I just think that with the benefit of crowds at the stadium, they're going to make sure that they will the team on, because Bayern really only have the championship for which to aim. And even if Bayern win, it has been made clear that Thomas Tuchel will leave. So segueing back to your earlier question, I think Xavi will also honor his word and say, thank you for the memories. And here's a Champions League trophy as a goodbye gift. And there'll be no hard feelings. You sometimes have to know how to say goodbye and say it well. I'll tell you what, though, if Bayern do go out against us, I wouldn't be surprised if Tuchel walks before the end of the season. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah,
and we also have to deal with another incident in the Arsenal Bayern game where, had Kingsley Coman's that shot off his shin gone a few centimeters or inches to the right through Raya's legs, it would have been 3-2 Bayern with the last kick of normal time and effectively game over. So anyone who suggests that we have more positives than negatives to take out of the game, you are sadly mistaken, because Bayern had the better chances and they could definitely have beaten us. So on balance, despite having more possession, we were not we had more possession than them, but they were the better team. And I'm sorry for talking over you.
No, that's all right, mate. Basically, I just wanted to say, wrapping things up, but I will say this: when we did take the lead, we started to look really open, and that was when the chaos caused and Bayern were allowed to get back in the game. And to be honest, we all knew. Well, most of the Arsenal fan base didn't know, but few of us, including yourself, Manny, who sort of did know that, yes, Bayern Munich ain't winning the league this year. Of course, they're not winning the German league. Of course, they're not. But in the Champions League, they have something called experience, and they have a lot of that in the Champions League, bear in mind. We don't at the moment. That's why I said before even the season started, I'd be happy with a quarterfinals. But I am going to give my prediction before we go. My heart is saying penalties as well. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw in normal time. I think we will score first. And I think that man, Gabriel Jesus, will start and score first. And then I reckon Serge Gnabry will equalise and do his little fucking,
Mate, Gnabry's out. He's not going to.
Oh wait, yeah. He's out. Oh god, right, okay. Harry Kane will get a penalty then.
Right, Rasputin. Bayern has a goal.
Do it against Spurs, mate. Honestly, it's like Bayern's a new Spurs. Every time he meets, Harry Kane's got to have a penalty. I think Harry Kane will have a penalty. And then
unless we forget, Kane was a boyhood Arsenal supporter.
I know. It's horrible. It's horrible to see, man. I still think of him in those stands at Highbury celebrating. honestly, honestly. But yeah, my head. God. Oh, I really feel something bad's going to happen on Wednesday night. I can't lie. I really do. I think it's going to be a beatdown for some reason. I really do. I don't like to say it, but I'm going to say 3-0 Bayern Munich. I think they'll batter us. Oh, I really do. I think we missed an opportunity there. 2-2. I don't even think a one goal lead would have saved us. To be honest with you, this is all they've got now. But I would love us to go through, man, if we can get through. But then you look at the teams we got through. I have a Real Madrid or Man City, so it's going to be another nightmare. It's going to be another tough challenge. I'd fancy ourselves against. I think out of them two, who would you say that we go through? This is obviously imaginary, basically. But say that we go through, who would you rather, Real Madrid or Man City?
I'd probably
Bear
say
in mind,
Manchester.
our first leg is going to be at the Emirates.
Yeah, so it will probably have to be Manchester City.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why. Because, I'd like to, even though we've faced them 3 times in the Community Shield, which was a draw. We won on penalties. We beat them at the Emirates, and we drew at the Etihad.
Exactly.
So I don't know if it's necessarily enough to say that we have the Indian sign over them, but I'd like to think that City, of course, will be looking again to try to target our defense. And we're also going to put on another defensive masterclass or 2 and really be a much more solid team than we were last season. Last season, we shipped 7 goals against them on aggregate. This time around, we kept 2 clean sheets in the Premier League, so you can see the difference, although it has to be said that at the Emirates, Raya was a very lucky boy on many occasions.
He was indeed, again.
Real Madrid, of course, it wouldn't be too bad a thing to face them, but I just think, again, that they're also going to make sure they tighten themselves up. And certainly Mr. Bellingham will be very determined to make his mark against an English team. And he will also try and, show Arteta that there could be that there will be more levels. So I would prefer Manchester City, but I haven't given my head prediction. My head says that Bayern will beat us. We should be able to score at the Allianz. We should be able to do what Lazio couldn't do, pending, of course, what defense Tuchel puts out. But when it comes to the midfield and attack at the Allianz, I think we're on a hiding to nothing, and we can be happy that it's not going to be another 5-1 reverse. But the one thing I don't want to see is, us failing to score, because bear in mind, when we lost 5-1 and had those beatdowns, we at least scored. So
yeah, it would be. It would feel like another PTSD moment.
You could say that, absolutely.
Honestly, but I don't know whether it was just me, but I had some nightmares before that Bayern game. Just thinking back and being sat in that stadium, literally hands on my head, going, "Oh, what have we just watched? What have we just watched?" And going to watch the likes of Troops and Mr. DT on AFC TV, looking at that, and mate, it was chaos back then. It was very, very, very madness. But yeah, we are going to let you guys all go. We're going to let Manny go. Thank you so much, Manny, for coming on. If you would like to, let me try and do this now. It's been a while. There we go. If you would like to shout out your stuff.
Yeah, well, first of all, MK, big up to you. A long time, and I'm always glad to come on as and when I possibly can. This is definitely a channel on which you can find me, MK the Don. And also catch me on Oris Talks Football. They do have their prediction stream going on, but I couldn't join it. But I did offer my predictions in the chat. And speaking of which, I am going for a 3-1 win for Arsenal over Villa, especially with Villa not having Douglas Luiz in their team. But this could be a game where, if we're not careful, if we are complacent and arrogant, Villa could take advantage of us. And, unlike us, they won their midweek European game. So I think they will have a little bit of confidence if Unai Emery can get a more decent team together and make sure that they are ready to come at us. But we should beat them, I hope. And Also catch me on the Coach's Corner, Del Boy Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV, where we do European watch-alongs with the Arsenal. Up the cherries in all departments, the Bournemouth fan channel. We do a cherry picking video which comes out every Friday, and also Rich Sports, Football United, Old School Gunner, Northside LDN, Spurs U Asia TV with Eugene, based all the way in Malaysia. And just a few other channels that I don't really have the ability to name. But yes, I do. 2 channels, in fact. Mr. B Talks England Cricket and Mr. B Hive Football Chat, where he has this football debate show. And several other channels that I can't really name. All mean a great deal to me. And if they don't believe me, I will send them a check in the post. And as far as socials are concerned, you see my name on the bottom left-hand corner. Add 1981 to that, and you will find me on Instagram and Threads. You can just add the 1981 to the surname, and you'll find me on Twitter. And I always say that when it comes to going on streams, it's very important to make sure that your behavior is spot on, and that you do not try to talk over people and put your point across, and allow people to say whatever they want to say. And do not try to dominate, especially if the channel is not your own. And we need to make sure that we are respectful of one another and our opinions, and do not engage in snide or banter or, rude commentary, because, as I always say, if we cannot agree to disagree without being disagreeable, there is no point in having a discussion. So let's treat each other the way that we would like to be treated. And all I can say to that is amen. Apart from that, take care of yourselves. Enjoy the Premiership football coming up this weekend. Obviously up the Gunners on Sunday, and then the following midweek is our Champions League return. I hope that we can get things together, but the deck is heavily stacked against us. But until then, as always, thank you all for joining in. If you're not in the chat, hopefully you'll be watching this on playback. Great to be back on MK's channel. It's been a long time. I've really missed him. I hope he's missed me as well. And I want to say thank you to him for wishing me a happy birthday when I couldn't, respond or reply. Lovely bloke. Love being with him. And enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Be happy. Don't do anything that MK and I wouldn't do. But as always, farewell to thee. Goodbye and God bless to all of you.
It's good. We do not leave them many options when you say do not do anything that me and you wouldn't do. We do not leave you guys with many options to go out and cause mischief. That's what we like to see. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously, we are going to try and do a review on the Bayern game and the Villa game when it comes out. But yeah, my prediction for the Villa game, obviously over the weekend, I'm very busy, so I will not be able to post online. My dog's almost just fell off the chair, but he's all right. I'm going to go with a 3-0 Arsenal win. I feel a bit confident in the Premier League right now. So hopefully my prediction comes right. And
all I can say to that, mate, is beware Ollie Watkins. Just when you think you might keep him quiet, he'll find a way to score. So you might want to be careful.
He will score, but it'll be raised as offside. There'll be some debate in that. There'll be some debate.
I love it.
We stick MK right in. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, smash that like button. Me and Manny have reached over an hour. It's bang on an hour right now, so that counts. Anyways, big up to all of you, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. See you later, and peace.